I had an interesting evening. I went to church. I wasn't looking for God, don't worry. God was with me on the way there, on the way back, and during. What I did do is spend most of my energy and attention focused on my own energy field, and I wasn't able to worship God there. Or I did, but not in the way that everybody else was doing it. See, I went to church because I was invited there by a man that I met yesterday, and I went there as an act of service for him, but also so that I could be amongst Christian fellowshippers again after a little while away to see, and I was able to gauge that there was no real difference between my time spent fellowshipping with Pentecostal Christians in Cornwall, a place where I was staying before. Um, God wasn't really there in that room tonight, which is kind of disconcerting and concerning because, like the Bible says, where two or more are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst also, and I know that I was carrying God. So, for example, there was a woman who was singing. Um, there were other people playing instruments and singing, but she was singing, and I looked at her once. I saw that she saw me and was looking at me, and then avoided her gaze the whole time. It wasn't a godly look. And the sermon was talking about God. So God was there or thereabouts because God is in the Bible, right? For those with eyes to see and ears to hear. So I heard the message was about leaving your country, your nation, and receiving new land which will be revealed. And I'm just about to leave on a journey, so I did receive that. But there was a part when the pastor, preacher, whatever, the man was talking about Israel and how we we who were there should be praying for Israel. He was talking about Israel's enemies and all of this stuff. And earlier today, I watched a rap video from a Palestinian child, a 10-year-old Palestinian child. He was talking about peace. He was talking about living in a war zone. He was talking about how nowhere's safe for him to live his childhood. Now that throws a spanner in the works, doesn't it? Realistically, if you believe in the demiurge, Old Testament God that is supposed to blend seamlessly into the New Testament edition. So, a new covenant, yeah, a new covenant that we are making between ourselves, with ourselves, the God within, the seed planted in our heart of the Christ. Now, Christianity is in a loop of its own imagining. All religions are. People who are blind to the truth will regurgitate the spells of the religious texts, where they've been subverted to create these prophecies that rely on faith for them to come to pass. It occurred to me earlier that the majority of Christians probably, I'm guessing, I would say it stands a chance. And by that I mean people who believe that they have achieved salvation or been gifted salvation because they went underwater. That they won't be searching for any deeper truths because they've already got their redemption under their belts. So, for the most part, people's faith is probably not as strong as it could be because of the distortions. So they'll pray for something and it won't come to pass, or it will keep stretching out. They're just on this hamster wheel where they're waiting on God. They're going, oh, getting impatient here, but God knows best. Like, come on, God, what you doing? And then presumably, this version of God is sitting in the clouds or wherever, just going, oh, come on, human, Christian, do the thing, you. Like, come on, you gotta do stuff. so, so this imaginary God is also waiting on a miracle. There are some, there have been some, there are have been, there have been some very, very powerful, faithful people who didn't get swayed by the dark magic that's contained within the sacred texts, and they specifically focused on the mission, which is, well, essentially, it's not really correct because it's the mission is to draw more people into their cult, even though it's positively aspected and they think that their intentions are the be all and end all, just pulling each other into the reincarnation trap, realistically. So yeah, I shielded myself from demons in a room full of what the world would see as faithful, holy people. And I didn't feel any way about it. I just did it as an act of duty and preservation for myself, obviously. But I refused to even carry that. Like, do you think it's possible to become a part of a church and change the whole group think? No, it's not. Because I'm not God. I'm not the God that they bow down to. So there's nothing that you can do. You couldn't even give God away to people who believe they've already got God in their life. You couldn't pay people. So part of me really wanted to stand up and say something or do something to cause a scene and just stir things up. But I would have just got chased out the building and they would have been trying to cast demons out of me. And I would have just laughed. And I would not have been welcome back there. Not that I'm going back there. So that was my evening. God bless you. The real one.